All right, we are live. What's up, Facebook? Happy Wednesday morning. Chelsea here with Rock Recovery Fitness, joined by Jonathan.
John Westfall, Rock Recovery Fitness. Good morning, Facebook.
We hope everyone's doing well, doing what you can to beat the heat, and hopefully getting outside and enjoying it a little bit. I know some of us at Rock Recovery have been getting back outside, enjoying things a little bit. This past weekend, we kicked off our outdoor programming with the famous Brian Quinn workout down by the beach, and then they carried on a hike through Turning Point. And then we've had a couple outdoor workouts the past few mornings, which have just been so great. We were just talking, kind of getting back to Rock Recovery's roots, getting people out of the isolation and kind of back to doing what we love to do the most. So, and John and I got to jump on our couch to 5K run yesterday. It's just the two of us, but that's okay. It was good.
It was great. We actually got to go further and longer than you anticipated. I know that. We always do a little extra, right? Extra is one of our favorite words.
We are a little extra. So anyway, thank you all for tuning in. We're very excited to be here today. We've got two special guests. We have Kelhi and Rebecca both with us, both friends of John and I. And, they're two wonderful women who have, had some losses in their lives, both of their daughters, with the loss of addiction and, but they're here today to share their strength and their hope, talk about their resiliency, what they've done to kind of get through those struggles, and really to share all of their amazing advocacy efforts. So we are so blessed and excited to have them both with us today. So welcome, Kelhi and Rebecca. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Chelsea and Jon.
Yeah, thank you, Chelsea. Thank you, Jonathan.
So for anyone, a little more background, Rebecca has been involved with Rock Recovery for at least the last 2 years, if not a little bit longer, and regularly accompanies us on Stand Up for Recovery Day in Albany. And I've come to know Rebecca over the last couple of years just through our involvement with Stand Up for Recovery Day and at Rock Recovery. She comes on hikes and the family comes out with her, and just amazing people. And I'm just meeting Kelhi now this morning for the first time as well. Welcome.
Yeah,
so happy for you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Yeah, Stand Up for Recovery Day is great. For those of you that don't know what Stand Up for Recovery Day is, it is run by an organization called For New York. People from all over the state gather, and the day begins with some speakers in Albany in a big auditorium. They talk about the progress that is being made in recovery efforts, and what the state is trying to do to help. It's followed by a march on the Capitol lawn, nice rally, and then in the afternoon, people break off into smaller groups and meet with contingents and their representatives and share their story and why they feel funding for recovery services is so important. I feel personally like that is where I can make a big impact, and it helps me, along with hopefully helping gain some funding for organizations focused on recovery. So,
yeah, we had the chance to go up. Was it in February?
Yeah,
it was actually on the anniversary of my daughter's passing this year. So a very emotional but meaningful day for me, especially this year. So
yeah, it was a very, very powerful day. That was actually my first time going. I got to go with our Rock Recovery crew and Rebecca as well, and it was just so powerful and so moving, really, just to see all of the people there, really just taking action and showing that they want change, and really just that's part of the way to do it. So it was a great day.
And always really, really impactful stories. I think that a lot of times, the real actual faces of people that are affected by addiction are lost in all the talk about budgets and laws and everything else. And so every time, Rebecca tells her story, or Kelhi tells her story, or anyone, to people who have, the power to change laws and to increase funding to critical services, it just makes the most amount of impact. I've seen, Rebecca just completely melt legislators in meetings with, her story and her daughter's artwork that, she's going to show. So I really just, I can't say enough about how important these two ladies are, and anyone who has a story, to share that story, because it's meaningful. With that, I'll let you guys kind of take the show.
So, I think for me in early grief, I knew right away that I felt like I didn't go through this experience with my daughter for nothing. I didn't want to store her story away in a closet and put her artwork away in boxes. I felt like it was such a significant life experience that, and a sad life experience. I wanted to turn that around and turn that for some good. And if it helps a person or two along the way, that brings meaning to my life. And I think it honors her as well. And I know, Kelhi, you feel the same way about your daughter.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You just took the words right out of my mouth. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for anyone not familiar with their stories, unfortunately, Rebecca and Kelhi both belong to a group of folks who have, lost children to their addictions, unfortunately, and I have a very strong feeling toward this group in particular. Because there were times in my life where I felt like there was a real possibility I was going to belong to this group as well. I have, two of my 4 kids struggle with their own challenges with substances, and as I shared with Kelhi, and Rebecca knows, going through all of that a few years ago, as my kids started to, suffer some of the consequences of substance use, through arrests and things like that, and just the natural consequences of this disease. I'd never felt more alone and more hopeless and more helpless in my life. And that is really what turned me toward this pathway in my life, toward getting more serious about my own recovery and my recovery story, to model a better behavior in my own life, because I saw parallels. But then also to help other parents who were experiencing that same sense of hopelessness and helplessness, right? As you're going through it, there's nobody hands you a textbook as they're arresting your child. Nobody, you trust the people who are in charge, quote unquote, of things, to know what they're doing and to be looking out for your best interest. And that's not, unfortunately, it's not always the case. And so I wanted to be able to help other parents and help other families in their pathway, not to feel that, Rebecca and Kelhi, you can be a testament to this too, but the number of sleepless nights you spend, just with worry and with, gosh, did I do everything I could do? Did I do this right? Did I say, it's as far as you beat yourself up for every word that you've ever said to your child, those nights are just, even just to have somebody to be able to relate that to, I wanted to do that. So these ladies are just amazing symbols of strength and resilience in the face of, one of many people's biggest fears, right? The loss of a child.
Yeah.
I would just, if I was in the same room with you, I'd hug you both right now. So
I know, I would love that.
Yeah.
I wanna circle back to something that I think it was that Jon had said, in regards to being a face, Rebecca being a face in the room in Albany, and stand up for recovery. And I think that you know, I mean, there are so many different stigmas that surround substance use disorder, any kind of addiction, and I think that the general public has a very skewed view of what that face looks like.
Yes.
You know, it's sad because we put so much stock into what something looks like, you know, the outward appearance of someone or something, that it's hard sometimes to see beyond that and see the real like inner workings of someone. Um, you know, to look at my daughter, for instance, you wouldn't look at her and say, "Wow, you know, she's got a serious drug problem." She didn't fit that mold, I guess, you know, and there again, there's a stereotype because, you know, before addiction was really prevalent in our lives as a family, we looked like this normal, you know, hardworking middle class family. Um, and everything seemed wonderful on the outside, but you know, meanwhile it was chaotic, and it was, where's Erin, what's she doing, where's she going, who's she with, you know, and constantly trying to stay ahead of the addiction so it didn't get, you know, out of control. But getting back to that, I think the more that we bring issues to light, to topic, and get them out there so people can see the faces, not only the faces of people that struggle with addiction, but the faces of those that are left behind. Um, I think that it's easier when you're putting a cause, you're trying to get something to move forward, to put a face with that. And so people do realize, wow, these are families. These are moms and dads and siblings, and gee whiz, they look normal. You know, it's a skewed view that people have in regards to addiction. And that's what keeps a lot of people in the dark, unfortunately. So I think the more that we do speak out and the more that we do advocate, even though our children aren't here on this earth, we're still advocating for them. If not for them, for someone else, you know. And it's a fight that is, it's it's so worthy and it's so important because there's so many people that struggle with it, you know.
Right.
And I love that you talked about, you know, really a lot of where that change begins is educating other people too.
Yeah.
Whether it's the families educating, or, you know, the people in recovery themselves, or who are, you know, us as an organization, like whoever it is that is out there really just educating. And I love that you talked about that, like breaking the stigma, you know.
Yes.
That's one of the things that, you know, we can pride ourselves in at Recovery, you know, like that's why, you know, we're out there with the sober t-shirts and things like that. And, you know, you can see, like you said, Kelhi, that, you know, addiction doesn't have to look this certain way. And Leah Hill, who's actually joining in right now, did a wonderful recovery talk with Lisa and Brian, all about stigma and language. And that was just really powerful too. You know, Leah talked about, you know, even just going to Google images and Googling some of those really stigmatizing words and language.
Yeah.
And Googling some of the more positive person-centered language of, you know, recovery and hope, that images are just drastically different. It's very interesting to see that. And I know that you have both used, you know, this advocacy to kind of help you both move forward. But I'm curious, kind of early on, what were some of those other supports that you both used to really help you through that grieving process? What did that look like?
So for me, I reached out right away. I, you know, being the person I am, I kind of knew that I needed to be around other people in similar situations. I met Becky and Paul Baker from the SOARS group, Easy, and they hold a grief support group. They try to do it weekly. Of course, during this time, it's been challenging, but you can find them on Facebook. Either Forever in Our Hearts is the name of the grief group, or the SOARS page, there's information. So I felt like I needed to be surrounded by people in the same experience that had similar experiences as I did. And I gained strength from that. And then being around the positive energy of people in recovery, that energy just like filtered right to me, and I just enjoyed thoroughly being involved, and I found yoga, which is very helpful.
Yeah.
Also, absolutely love yoga, mind, body, and spirit. It's been wonderful. So those were things I did early on.
As far as myself and my family, I actually found a group. It was an online support group called GRASP, GRASP. And so I was sharing my story, Aaron's story. Also, 315-607 Healing Hearts is an amazing support group. A lot of the support groups that are around in our area. I mean, I'm in a very small area. I think Rochester has a lot more resources. We had the Center for Family Life and Recovery, which I work with them, trying to work with them right now to get some things going. But as far as like dealing with Aaron's passing or trying to navigate through that, because I think what people don't understand is when you lose a child, I mean, it's an unthinkable, inconceivable thing to happen. Nobody ever thinks that it's going to happen, but when you lose a child to addiction, to an overdose, it's a completely different loss. There's so much that goes along with that talking to someone who doesn't understand, like Rebecca was saying, you tend to move towards the people that have experienced that, because it is a very different loss. I mean, not to say that anyone losing a child doesn't have many layers to that, but it is very different. Each loss is very specific and individual to the person that they were, so there's a lot that comes along with that. So trying to find someone or trying to find a group that is specifically for people that have lost loved ones through addiction, through an overdose, it's very helpful. So we are actually trying to start a local chapter here in our area of GRASP, because right now there really isn't a lot of places for people to go to, where you feel that security, you feel that understanding that when you say something about your child's passing or a loved one's passing from an overdose, you have to be comfortable and not feel judged for what you're saying, and it is a very different group of people that that are in support groups for addiction. It's just different. It's just a different,
I think what you said about the many layers of the processing of what happened. It's really something that only someone who's been through a similar situation can understand. Those feelings are unique to us,
Yes. Yeah. But my faith and the power of positive energy, and trying to, like I said, trying to stay out of the places where I don't need to be. You tend to, I don't know about anyone else, but for me, I deal with it as it comes. So if I'm having a bad day or I'm having a bad moment or I'm upset about something, I try and like focus on that and really kind of like work through it and let it hit me. And then I take a deep breath and I'm kind of like, okay, so maybe I haven't worked through it 100%, but I'm going to set it over here for now and I'll circle back to that. Our minds are such wonderful things, but can also be our worst enemy. So you try and like stay out of the places that you don't need to be.
Absolutely.
There's nothing we can't change the outcome of anything that's already happened, you know, and all we can do is take from it and take our child's light, which I speak of a lot, and carry that light and carry it forward so others can see it and say, look, here's the message. The message is hope. You know, you're still standing, you're still breathing. There's hope.
Yeah.
There's actually a quote that we love to say a lot at Recovery, and that is, where there's breath, there's hope.
Absolutely.
No one is beyond. No one is beyond hope. And you mentioned faith, Kelhi, and it's, you know, no secret that, you know, faith is a big part of my life and my story as well. And there's, you know, particular passages that I lean on a lot, but, you know, one of them says that, you know, we can use all things for good, right? Even the worst things, the worst, most unimaginable, I think was a word that I heard you say, you know, the most unimaginable things that no one ever wants to go through, we can still use for a good outcome, right? And that every time, like through the darkest nights and the hardest times, has been my saving grace. Has been that passage, has been, and I wear it on my wrist actually, you know, that to remind me that no matter how bad things can get, there's always something we can use it for that will be for good in the end, right? In the final balance of things, like we can't see all ends. We don't know what everything is for.
Right.
And so if I can keep that in mind and understand that there's a greater good that even the worst things can come from, I think, you know, if we were to boil everything down and all of my things and all the bad stuff that's happened, is that I can still use it for good. That's not, I'm not going to let it determine my pathway moving forward. I'm going to make it count for something, right?
Yes.
Both of you ladies have embraced that, whether it's consciously or subconsciously, and made that sort of your marching orders, that I'm going to take this awful thing and just, it's going to help somebody. It's going to help somebody.
Well, because our children matter, you know, you know, and I do say this, that the disease didn't define who they were as people, you know, they were still, you know, our children, and there was so much more to them than the addiction, you know, than that disease, that, you know, we all have bragging rights as parents, and, you know, we want to say, hey, look, this is the best, these are the best parts of our children, and this is what we need to honor and try and focus on that, you know, so it does help some, you know, maybe it does help someone else. Maybe there's a parent that's struggling, that knows their child is struggling and doesn't know what to do, or thinks that there's no hope. You know, there is always hope. There's, you know, there's a message out there, and you know.
And I love that you both, you know, talked about that too, and what Jon just mentioned. And in my mind, I always very much like to think in like visual metaphors, and there's always this metaphor of a ripple effect.
Yes.
You know? So even you know, the most tragic, horrific things in life, it doesn't, in my mind, it doesn't just stop there. You know, there's a ripple effect afterwards, and it's amazing to see. You know, I didn't get the chance to, you know Rebecca's daughter, but I did, you know, get close to Erin towards, you know, the end of her life, and got to see, like, even in person, like what a ripple effect this human had on everybody. With, you know, I have so many just funny memories of Erin's very loud laugh and that big smile, and it's amazing to see that even after she's not here with us on Earth, you know, there is still this ripple effect of that, and it's just continuing to grow, and it's just amazing to see that, and in both of your efforts that you're putting forward. Kelhi, I love that you talked about that, you know, like really just, you know, and that's what we, you know, learn in a lot of our training too, but really learning that to be more person-centered, to understand that these are people. You know, I am a person first before my addiction. You know?
Yes.
So, and I love, and that's part of that way that we can all work together to continue to break that stigma. You know, look at the person first before the addiction, or before the disability, or whatever it is that each human has.
Yes.
You know, person first. So I love that you touched on that. And I'm curious to see kind of, so where has that transformed you both today? I know you've both, you know, Rebecca's been coming with us to Stand Up for Recovery Day. So I'm curious to see where your efforts are kind of at today, and what that looks like for each of you.
So more recently, you know, I have been, like, the coronavirus sadly has kept me from going to, group events. There's a lot of candlelight vigils, balloon releases, awareness walks, things like that I've been in the past able to attend, but because of Corona right now, my focus has changed a little, and I'm actually really excited because I'm in the process of contacting both the founder of Artisan Works and a professor at MCC to hopefully share some of my daughter's artwork in an
wonderful
educational setting. I'm hoping that they'll be conversation starters and, like somehow help on an educational level for people who want to be counselors or things like that. So that's what I'm working on currently because I can, from home.
Yeah. That's awesome. And we've gotten a chance to see some of your daughter's artwork when you brought it to Stand Up for Recovery Day. And I know you brought a few pieces today. If you'd love to share with us a few of her pieces, they're amazing.
Yes. Yeah, I'm going to try to turn this camera back around and I can show you.
Yeah, I was going to say I'd like to give you both, a chance to brag on your kids, like Kelhi said.
Oh yeah. Well. And again, it does end the stigma because you can see how talented she was.
Oh wow!
These are pencil drawings and charcoal drawings, and again, she had so much to offer this world. I mean, with her talent and art. This one symbolizes a money addiction, and. You can just see like it's, she had so much to offer. And those are some of her pieces. And you can also see like her pain and her struggle in them. Yeah. And, also what I like to show when I go to Albany is some of her earlier works are of much like happier content. Her self-image is, pretty and smiling, and then you get into like the ones that I just showed you, and you can see the progression. You can see kind of the pain that she was experiencing.
They're very moving, Rebecca.
Yeah, thank you.
They really speak a message.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
Wow.
Very nice.
God bless her. God bless her.
Yeah, thank you.
Talent.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yes.
You're welcome.
So powerful.
Thank
so
you.
Kelhi, how about you? What have you been up to lately? Where's your focus starting
well, it started with a lot of research and trying to look at some things on, trying to find information, and there's so much misinformation that I was thinking that, hey, you know what if we did like a website? What if I came up with like something to honor Erin, but at the same time to help other people? So it's in the process right now of #ErinsLight.org. Before COVID kind of took over, I was working with the Center for Family Life and Recovery, and we're working on some really exciting things for the community. #ErinsLight stands for every recovering individual needs some love, inspiration, grace, hope today. Yeah. So once the site once we can get everything, all the T's crossed and the I's dotted, it's going to be an informational website you can log on. There'll be a forum, people can talk and have, a healthy dialogue. Is my speaker something? Do you guys hear that?
Yeah.
So there's something like, really like fuzzy or weird, but in any case, also programs and projects that I've been working on, I'm trying to put that onto the website as well, with some things that Erin was very passionate about. She really wanted to help people, even though she was struggling herself. her, she would put what she was feeling aside to help someone else. So in cleaning her apartment and going through her things, I found all these journals and affirmations, and she had all of these affirmations everywhere. So what I did was I compiled her affirmations and I had them all printed, and all of her affirmations are her compliments that she left for everyone. So what I did was I made a bunch of these little clips and hand painted them, and they're magnetic and they hold the affirmation. So essentially, and there's a thing on the back. So it's a pay it forward program. What I did was I went on social media and asked people to private message me their address, and I send them 2 affirmations and 2 pins, one for them to keep and one for them to pass to someone who might need a little inspiration. So we can keep it kind of like going. So that's one of the projects. Also working on some things for local legislature. I'm trying to get a bill passed. And that's an arduous task, especially right now because everybody in Albany is very busy. But just trying to try and find like a center balance of dealing with the grief that I do have, but also trying to move forward and bring things into the light. So
It's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
yes.
And you both have done such an amazing job in paying it forward yourselves. Really just, again, just continuing to show resiliency over and over and continuing to move forward and show light on other people and help educate people. And it's just amazing to see.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. And the creativity and just the resourcefulness of everything that you both have done has just been amazing. I think that, if we had, a couple of advocates like you in every town, we would be able to make such great headway with the epidemic that we're in the midst of a pandemic.
Yeah.
And, to touch on Kelly's point, it's just hard. It's hard to advocate for things that we need, but I think it's more important now than ever before. I mean, because obviously, as we all know, both anecdotally and it's coming out evidence-wise, this pandemic has done nothing but make it more difficult for folks in recovery. Mm-hmm. And we're facing, greater overdose numbers, and really more of a struggle. And again, just speaking as a person in recovery, for someone with all the supports and all the recovery time that I have and all the resources that I have, it's been a struggle. I'm just going to be upfront. I mean, it's really difficult.
Sure.
This disease breeds on isolation. It breeds on anxiety. It breeds on fear. And we've got a plethora of all of that stuff right now. So I think it's more important now than ever what you ladies are doing and what we're doing as a community as a whole. It is really difficult. There's no doubt. But sometimes, God puts walls up in front of us to really make us work for something and to show how important it is. And I think that, you guys are really doing that right now. It's amazing to see that everything that you're doing, in spite of all the limitations that we have right now, it's great to see.
Thanks.
I want to thank you so much from everybody, in recovery. I think I can easily say we're very grateful for all the work that you're doing.
Thanks. And I'm so grateful for you and Chelsea and everyone at Recovery Fitness too, because I think what you are doing is just fantastic.
Absolutely.
It helps me too to see, people in recovery. And as I said earlier, just your energy is contagious, and I love it.
Yeah. And like you had said earlier, there's such, an aspect, Rebecca, you mentioned early on that you just kind of surrounded yourself into that community and, just reiterating that from Jon too, really just, especially at this time, just continuing to keep that connection, no matter where you're at in life. As we are kind of nearing our time here, if there's anybody watching right now who is a parent who are maybe in the same boat, who have already, lost a child, or even a parent, with children that are struggling right now in the moment. I'm curious, Rebecca and Kelhi, what advice would you want to leave some of those parents or people with today?
You can go ahead, Kelhi.
Reach out. Don't stay in the dark. Don't stay in the dark. Darkness breeds darkness. Ask for help. Talk to someone. Whatever it is. If you've lost a child, or you lost someone that you love to addiction, don't stay isolated. Don't. Because the person that's passed on, they do have a message. They have a message, and their life is valuable. Their life was valuable. It still is valuable. Just reach out. There's always someone there. There's always someone there. You may not find that person right off the bat, but there are research. There's, you guys, just reach out. Don't isolate yourself, and don't stay in the darkness. There's nothing good that comes of that. And have hope. Pray. Even if you're not a spiritual person, whatever you believe, whatever your beliefs are, just find that inner little voice, and shout and scream and pray. Call out. Sometimes it's bigger than us. We have to leave it we have to leave it in front of God. Leave it, give it up to God, but pray, stay in the light.
I love that. Thank you.
I think, and I would just add on to that, anyone who's going through grief right now, your life matters still too.
Absolutely.
Because there were a lot of times when you could, like Kelhi said, just revert back to very negative feelings about what you could have done better, or and finding purpose again in my life, for me. And part of that is carrying on my daughter's story. But part of that is just, evaluating what I want to do with my own life. I still have 3 other children. I have parents who are aging, who they'd kill me if I said this on live, but they're going to need me someday.
Yes.
My life still has value, and
Yes.
and I'll go on, and I'll do the best I can to get through it. And I would hope that every other grief parent or grief husband, wife, anyone who's lost a loved one to overdose, still feels valued and purpose in their own life.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, great reminders from both of you too. I love that you said that, Rebecca, that you are still important too. You are still of value, and find purpose in your life too. And really great positive messages today. Thank you both so much for coming out and really just sharing that strength and hope with others. Again, I can't say it enough. You're both really shining examples of what resiliency looks like. And you both have such big hearts, and I really appreciate that. And I'm sure all our viewers, there's a lot of people on, I don't know if you both can see it, but John and I can see all the Facebook comments that are happening right now. So there's a lot of love and positivity out there, people commenting. So it's just wonderful to see even the impact we have in our little virtual world today. So thank you both so much for joining John and I today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
So much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great day, guys.
Thanks, Rebecca.
Thanks, Kelhi.
We hope everyone has an awesome day. We posted some links in the chat to some of the support groups that Rebecca and Kelhi have mentioned. So again, please stay connected, reach out to us. We're all here. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye, guys.